Yeah, so interesting question. Remember also that, as I said, that my dad worked already in the forest industry, and before he was lost in Rotterdam, but he did come back after the war ended. But life was never the same for him or the family at the effect of PTSD. But he still found a career in the lumber side, and my grandfather was a master carpenter. So for me, I loved lumber and anything to do with lumber. And I always knew that that would be the direction of where do I go in terms of developing a career. Now, I was 13 when I started, when I finished for the third time grade seven. And so, and most of the, and it served me well because I became the practical knowledge of working with my hands gave me an amazing foundation, which still serves me well even now. I'm very good at operating and operational because I spend the 70 years of my life in the lumber industry, always looking at how what can we make work better, how do you change the industry, how you become innovative. So to me, there was no question about it that that's what I would do. And so that was the advantage that I had. So the more you can focus, and you meaning in a general way, I speak about
Hmm.
it a lot. And I wrote a book actually about it, and that is this one, uh, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream. And I in particular write that because I find so many people, like I heard something in North America here on CNN or one of those other radio shows, I forget now which one, but they said that 75% of the people that are working do not like their job, and 70% of the 75% are looking actively for another career, another direction of a job. Amazing. And then the other part
Yeah.
is I do a lot of presenting to schools, younger people, and I have always, as part of my presentation, is so what are you looking for in terms of a career direction? And a lot of times they say, I don't know. I said, well, that becomes very, very critical and important as you go older, because you don't want to end up not liking what you do and then feeling you're committed because you got a mortgage, you got this, that, and so you cannot experiment and going in other directions. So, so that becomes very, very important. And then if you really don't like what you're doing, change because you take that with you home and around the area that you interacting with other people. They can tell that you really don't like what you're doing, and that's not very healthy. Not physically very healthy, mentally very healthy, and certainly not very healthy in terms of interaction in the circles that you are involved in. And so the point that I make with younger people in particular, if you think about being a truck driver, talk to truck drivers. If you're thinking about becoming a contractor, a building contractor, for instance, talk to people that are building contractors. If you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or an entrepreneur for that matter, a lot of those individuals would not mind you asking them about their careers, what do they like about it, where are the challenges, and to help you get a direction. And that's one of the reasons that I wrote the book, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream. And then
Hmm.
the fair question obviously is, hey John, are you living the dream? Well, it's already obvious, right? I am. you know. So that's how I found a career, but it's the step further is building your own operations. Now, it is not easy to build something from the ground up. And the forest industry in British Columbia, in particular, and in Canada, is pretty much all committed in terms of access to fiber. So I had to invent a new company. I could not have done that, making a new product. I could not have done that if I had, not had the physical involvement of being trained like a furniture maker, even at the age of 13 and doing grade seven three times. Some people say to me, how do you feel about, having failed grade seven three times? Does it bother you? I said, it really does, honestly. It still bothers me today. I should have left earlier. tongue, tongue in cheek. The point that I'm making is the formal type of education doesn't suit everybody, but it took me until I was 57 years old until I walked into a store here in Prince George, actually. All along, I already had been successful. And everybody said to me, "Oh, you got these companies. I already started to be quite successful. And you're so successful." I didn't feel that way. I felt I still had failed. And to a certain extent, not to the extent it kept me awake on nights, but I still felt that feeling is what's wrong with me. And so then when I walked into the store and I picked up a book, and the book's title was Driven to Distraction, written by Dr. Halliwell. And I don't know why I picked it up, and I opened the book, and it was all about ADHD. And I said to
Hmm.
myself, "Oh my God, that's me." And I
Wow.
took the book and I wrote in the book in Dutch because I was ashamed of it, because it kind of implied indirectly that it was a mental disorder of some sort. And the more I found out about it, is the more I started to realize that it was much, much different and much more than that. And in fact, after I studied it for on Google and other information, I came to believe that it is a superpower.
Wow.
And I still believe that today. And then I started speaking about it more. And then I felt I had to write a book about it. And I did that. ADHD Unlocked.
All
And,
right.
and very popular, actually. And the other part that you may find interesting is that Dr. Halliwell, very well known, has written 18 books, five on distraction issues, is ADHD. I had him. I've done. I think you're probably. I think I've done about 240, 250 podcasts, and I think on podcast number on the brink 203 is an interview with Dr. Halliwell. Can you believe it? You know, he wrote a book in 2003. I bought it in 2007. I still had it with me, and as him and me interacted, I said to him that I believe that the frequency of occurrence, although initially it was thought to be about 8%, I was already convinced then that it was probably 20% or more. Dr. Halliwell, when I mentioned that to him, he said, "No, John, it's more than 25%." The other part that I found interesting about it, I said to Dr. Halliwell, is that I believe of the successful, and the operative is successful, entrepreneurs and CEOs, it is probably more than 50% ADHD. He said, "No, John,
Wow.
more than 75%. I
Oh my
agree with
God.